It's a great time to be a 49er fan right now. What is going on, everybody? This is Aaron, 49ers First Takes. I am joined by two of the coolest co hosts on the planet, Dre from Dre Area Sports and Sterling Bennett from 49ers Access. Going to talk a little bit about the Niners offseason the last couple weeks. Niners are getting work done, and probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, thing on the plate for the 49ers this offseason was getting Brock Purdy signed and delivered. That happened not too recently. We had the press conference today. So we're going to talk about that for the next hour or so. So before we get into that, any of that, I just wanted to ask the guys in the panel, how are you guys doing?
Dre, go.
He did it. He didn't designate who's going to go first. I'm doing great. Little tired. And I say that because when I had Sterling and Johnny together, I said, "How are you guys doing?" And they just stalled. And they got on my case because you didn't say who to go first. But no, I'm having a good day. I had to work earlier, took a nap, but got to watch the press conference. If you watch it on the Niners YouTube account, this audio was awful.
It always is.
I don't know what they were using, but it was just not good. So I actually watched it on Larry Kruger's channel, and he's just recording it from, probably using his phone, and it sounded way better. I was like, I could hear all the questions. It wasn't like a weird, But no, I'm doing good, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, just like Dre, woke up this morning, had to do a little work, then popped over to the Niners YouTube channel. My audio wasn't messed up, and it sounded great for me, but a lot of great stuff happening out there at Niners HQ this past week or so, with Brock officially putting pen to paper today and locking things down for the next 6 years in San Francisco. So, Aaron, Dre, doing great. Happy to be here. Happy Brock Purdy is officially signed that of May 21st, 2025.
It is. It's funny. I was watching the press conference a little delayed. I got it in the middle, and I went back to the beginning when the audio was really bad. I was just having a great time watching all the trolls in the comments who are like, I don't know, bots or whatever, just talk about how much, the 49ers suck and how they're never going to win a Super Bowl and blah, 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 blah. And, I was tempted to kind of go in a certain direction that I tend to do when I'm in a feisty mood, but I kind of left that on the sideline. But it was just nice to kind of, that was like, he is a pleasant guy to listen to. I told Sterling when I messaged him, I was like, dude, what a good guy. Like not only we have a pretty good quarterback, but we also have like a pretty good human being too. I think character is something that is not really talked about nowadays because it's all about, getting the best talent on the field and doing whatever you have to do to win sometimes. But I feel like character is something that's so important to the Shanahan, Lynch, 49er era, and Brock Purdy is the leader of that. And I feel like he's kind of stepped into that role, whether he wants to or not. Not just because he got a huge contract, but because this is like his fourth year. I think it's his fourth year in the NFL. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, he's really come into his own. He sounded like a professional quarterback. Yeah. It was nice, man. I feel good to be a 49er fan. It's Niner players were really tired last year going into the offseason. Everything was just wrong and everything was broken. And I feel, at least right now, it's one of my topics, but I really wasn't going to touch on it too much. But the divide feels different in 49er land. And either of you can go first. But does this offseason right now, at least in May, have a different vibe to it compared to the last couple off seasons with just, like holdouts and questions, Brock's injury, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. This has an entirely different feel to it. And really, they set themselves up for this by, getting rid of all these other contracts, getting rid of, Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins and all these guys, letting Charvarius Ward walk and all the other free agents. Yes, they let Dre Greenlaw go. I wish they would have kept him. But still, there's a lot of questions about his health and can he sustain his health throughout the entire season, not miss any games, which he really hasn't been able to do. But he's a gamer at that. However, I think this offseason has been really great because they got rid of a bunch of guys. They brought in a whole bunch of new talent through the draft, some of which I love, some of which I'm a little on the fence about. But they also honed in and said, okay, we got to get certain contracts done. Okay, what contracts are those? We're talking about Brock Purdy. We're talking about George Kittle and Fred Warner. And they took care of all three of those well in advance of even the preseason, which is something they didn't do last season. Instead, last season was the opposite. They waited until the very last second to get all these contracts done, and that was just a mess. And so, yeah, this has a much better feel to it. It's more refreshing. It feels like they're locked in, and now everyone's signed, ready to go. And I'm super excited for the season.
Yeah, I think the Niners this year, unlike the last couple seasons, feel very focused on having one goal, and that's just playing football and winning games. Where in previous years it was you have these long extension talks, and you just really don't know if the guy's going to be on the roster come August and September, and that's very distracting. I know Brock today kind of pushed back on the idea that those have been big impacts on the locker room. But they do weigh on you to a certain extent. And now who knows how much exactly, but they are paid professionals, so get over it and go out there and play win games. But when you don't have your starting quarterback or your star linebacker or your star tight end out there, it does start to say, hey, what are the guys up top doing? Why are they not, getting involved here? Why are they not, getting things done for us? So I just think if you want to talk about the Niners and what they've done this offseason, they feel and look very focused this offseason, which to me means that they mean business, and they're taking this window, the talk of the window's closed, very seriously and trying to slam that thing wide open again to hopefully go out there and win one inevitably or eventually with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach.
One of the things that I put in the tab on the side before the stream was, are the 49ers being overlooked? And I think they are. And I think as me, who's a kind of a negative fan, I'm a little bit of a Debbie Downer, which is in complete juxtaposition to this guy, who's the most optimistic Niners fan I've ever met in my entire life. I feel that it's good. Raj is the most dude. He is the sunshine to my rain when it comes to 49er talk, for sure.
He was on the Troy Smith, CJ Beathard, Brian Hoyer bandwagon, baby, ready to go. We're going to a Super Bowl.
Every move the 49ers make is a great move.
You remember that?
No, I'm kidding.
I believe Troy gives us our best chance to win. I was like,
Troy Smith. Man,
he was good in London for one game.
I was like, no, it's horrible.
I don't know about Brian Hoyer. Yeah, we've had
they
some
were
bad
like,
ones.
he's a good quarterback because he knows the system. Whenever you got to say that, that's when you know it's bad. I was like, oh,
you know when you suck when you're trying to convince yourself that Brian Hoyer can lead you to victory. It's really bad.
Brian Hoyer,
no, but
bad.
I'm kind of okay with the underdogs. The underdog feeling for this team, because I was watching. I'm on X all the time. I get myself into trouble because I'm on there too much. But one of the things I noticed is that they do like projections in May of like playoff seeding in May, and I haven't seen the 49ers on any of those projections. It might have been Adam Schefter who talked about it, how the 49ers lost way more leaving the building than they did coming in. All legitimate concerns. I am cautiously optimistic, but I'm also, the way me and Sterling did our schedule prediction, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I kind of feel things can go either way with the way, with the Niners losing so much talent and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, with the schedule being as light as it is and pro 49ers really, as far as difficulty, I feel like the Niners can be an underdog this year, but it will be one of those things that we'll know for sure if they're a real contender when they start to play the big boys in the division, namely the Rams. And I think we'll have kind of an idea what that team will be as far as going forward based on some of those games. But I am really optimistic this year, considering all the negativity that's happened in the offseason.
Yeah, I think that, when you talk about the whole underdog aspect, I think there are a lot of analysts out there who don't have as much faith in the Niners because of the fact that they have a lot of holes and they're replacing those holes with a lot of young players. And so there's a lot of skepticism about, are these players the right players? Are they going to, develop into the guys that they want them to be? While you go back a couple years ago, the Niners were filled with players that were for sure things. Like, you knew exactly what you were going to get out of these guys. You don't know what you're going to get out of Mike Williams. You have a good idea of what you're going to get, but you don't know because they haven't played a full season yet. They haven't played a game yet. Same with, CJ West and Alfred Collins and all these guys. So there's a lot of, we got to wait and see how it pans out. But based on the talent they brought in and what they're capable of doing, I think the Niners are, in my opinion, they're the favorites to win the division because your biggest competition is going to be the Rams and then probably the Seahawks. And then, of course, you got the Cardinals too. But the Niners have the easiest schedule in practically the whole NFL. Now, some of those teams were very bad last season, and they're actually starting to get themselves in a better place. But based on the strength of schedule, the Niners have the best chance to win the division. I mean, they have a cake schedule. When you look at last season, who did we have? We had the Chiefs. We had the Bills, the Lions, the Packers, Sterling. All these, big teams. We got the Buccaneers this year too, but we've had a lot of challenging teams. The Cowboys. We don't even play the Cowboys this year. And that's shocking. I was like, wow, not even the Cowboys. And so, the Niners have a good shot to really, really make a big impact on the season and take this division.
Yeah, I think it's really hard not to be optimistic if you're a Niner fan. Obviously, the vibes are good again. You feel good about getting your guys locked up and signed, and also the schedule's in your favor in a lot of ways. I know traveling, they do a lot early in the year, but late in the year, it's a lot of West Coast stuff, a lot of inside dome stuff, a lot of playing at home towards the end of the year as well. So I'm not going to predict they win the NFC West or they go to the playoffs, although I think they can, at least the latter. But I think a lot of it stems from, at least the optimism stems from, Brock and how he handled the negotiations. And even him saying today, you kind of got a clear idea that while his agent may have asked for $65 million in the first offer they made to each other, you can tell Brock was like, look, I know who I am as a quarterback. I know who I am as a player. I could have asked for and stuck things out and held out for a long time and may or may not have gotten $60 million. But I knew it was important to be here on day one. And when you have guys in the building on day one, like Brock said again, when the season gets tough, when you're playing teams like the Rams on Thursday Night Football, Week 5, the Bears, Week 17 this next season, those are tough games that can go either way, that you have to win, you have to have. And this team really does have a really they have a kind of a tough stretch to begin the year. 3 of their first 5 games are against the NFC West. 2 of them are on the road. You have to start off hot, and I think San Francisco can. And to have your quarterback knowing that, hey, if I'm in the building early and I'm building chemistry with Pearsall and Jennings and Kittle and Jordan Watkins and Junior Burgeon and Jacob Cowing, and hopefully when Ayuk comes back and DeMarcus Robinson comes back, and to have those guys there on day one, we can start off hot. And even if we have that little blip of a 3-game stretch in the middle of the year, like 2022 and 23, we're going to be okay down the stretch as well to hopefully bring things home for us. So I think Niner fans have every right to be optimistic as to how this year can go. And a lot of that is attributed to how the front office has gotten things done and how their players, their leaders, Fred, Kittle, and Purdy, have kind of taken the reins of the offseason and put the San Francisco 49ers in a good place to begin 2025.
Well, yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
like when you look at the receiving core, right? A guy like Ricky Pearsall, this guy, he was shot. He got shot before the season started. I thought it was a joke I was like, oh, this is a gag, right? No, it was real, obviously. And so you think about what we saw at the end of the season from Ricky Pearsall. Once he's actually started getting acclimated into the 49ers offensive system, we saw him making huge strides game after game, getting more and more completions, getting open. And so now he has a full offseason. He's going to have a full preseason. I think I can expect big things out of Ricky Pearsall because right now your 1 and 2 is going to be Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. Now, the decline in that is that, neither one of them are burners, but you did sign guys.
Whoa.
What?
Pearsall got 4.5 speed, brother. Don't hate.
He's
Don't
not
hate.
that. He's not going to stretch the
hate.
field. He's, but you got Cowing and some other guys that can stretch the field. Isaiah Nayer, that I know Sterling's a huge fan of, and so I think offensively, if there's any kind of weakness, I think the Niners receiving core is probably one of the weakest right now because you don't have Brandon Ayuk. You got rid of Deebo Samuel. No matter what you say about Deebo Samuel, he was still a threat when he was on the field. He's a guy that the other teams had to account for when he was out there. For the most part, they had to watch, okay, where's this little guy at? But, we talked about Brock.
Little guy at. He's like 245 pounds.
I know, but he's not tall, though. He's only like 6'1".
That's true. That's true.
Very
He's
stubby.
short. Yeah, he's very stubby.
Yes, he is.
But like in today's press conference, I mean, Sterling touched on it already. I mean, you heard Brock Purdy say a lot of the things that you want to hear from your starting quarterback that you just signed to a 5-year deal. In fact, I would argue that he said so many good things that even the pundits out there who look for a negative spin on whatever he does had a hard time because he was so. It was perfect what he was saying. I was like, man, he's nailing this. And on top of that, when you look at like Dak Prescott, he took $60 million a year with $231 million guaranteed in the state of Texas, where there is no state income tax. So he's just raking in the money, right?
Negative pundits that have a narrative? No way.
No way. But Brock Purdy, he took $53 million and $181 in guaranteed money in a state that has a 12% income tax rate. So, look, I think that when you look at the contract that he signed, it's a team-friendly contract. It's going to be a bargain contract in the next year or two. And I think that he, obviously to me, he left some on the table because he wanted to make sure that he was getting a fair contract based on his talents, and he wanted to give San Francisco the ability to keep building this team. He didn't gouge the Niners for all this money. He wasn't like, no, I'm either signing for 60 or 65, and y'all got to figure it out, and I'm not going to show up to mini camp. I'm not going to show up to anything, No, he was there. He's been at the facility. He's doing everything that most of these quarterbacks don't do. Now, is that because of his humble beginnings being Mr. Irrelevant, that he's kind of like, hey, I'm just here to work. I'm just here to do my job. But the things that he was saying in the press conference, he was like, yeah, I love being around the young guys. I love talking to them about hey, this is how they coach you. It works. You should really follow them. I mean, this is like, you couldn't script a character better than Brock Purdy right now. I absolutely love everything I'm hearing out of Brock Purdy's mouth. And the signing itself is just tremendous. I'm so excited for the Niners.
I actually have a little bit of that, those sound bites today, if you guys wouldn't mind me playing them for you.
Do it.
Do it.
What are you, the Emperor? Do it. All right.
Obviously my agent did the negotiating, but would just keep me updated, throughout the week, and certain big moments and conversations that were had with the Niners, and then he would just call me and update me, and we both, before the whole thing started, sat down and we were like, all right, this is our vision. This is hopefully what we can get out of it and get what you deserve and have earned, and go from there. But obviously we want to, make sure that we're working together with our organization and setting up everybody for success. It's not just for me to get all the money as much as I can, but also like, hey, let's surround yourself with a great team and players and a great locker room, and all those things matter. So we definitely talked about that. And then, like I said, he would just update me periodically, but, there were some things that we wanted in there to protect me down the road and whatnot, in the contract and the language and all that stuff. But he did an amazing job with handling that and then breaking it down to me, like what it is, what it means, and what we need to get, what we can give up, all that kind of stuff. That's just negotiating. And so, like I said, he did an amazing job, and I'm very proud of him. Yeah, I feel like every year there sort of has been someone that it's like, man, you'd like to get them done, and it's gone on pretty late. And whether that has affected the locker room or not, I'm not really sure. I don't want to just pinpoint something, but this year having the guys done and being able to get back to work and be around the guys in the locker room and just like build our culture and standard really from the ground up with all the new guys that we have. It's been pretty cool. and everybody's bought in right now, and we're excited, obviously, to do like more team activities and stuff as we move along the off season. But man, it's hard to explain, but the young guys, the older guys, everybody's is bringing it right now, and I think it's just so important that we're just around each other a lot, doing little different activities and continuing to build chemistry. Like, that's the kind of stuff that matters, man. When you get late in the season and things get tough and you go through some tough things as a team, like, you want to be able to know the guy next to you and what he's about and that he's going to have your back and everything like that. So anyways, having the contract stuff done, it's been a huge blessing for the whole team and organization.
I mean, talking activities, this guy's amazing, dude. I mean, it's like, this is the kind of guy you would let watch your kids, you know? It's like, that's how trustworthy he is. But because of that, because of how well-rounded and wholesome he comes across, there's a lot of people out there that just want to see him fail. Like, oh, I hope he goes out there and throws 10 picks, in the first 2 games. But he's not going to do that. He's not that kind of quarterback.
Yeah, I think one of the big differences, I always try to compare, and we've gotten 2 really good examples of this under this regime with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and mainly Jimmy Garoppolo because he was one that got paid big money, but we didn't really get to see Jimmy for 2 to 3 years before he got paid. So it was like 5 games. He looks like the next coming of whoever you want to put next to his name, and he may have been that pre-injury, who knows, but then he got paid big money. But the way he went about those negotiations and the way he went AWOL on the team and didn't talk to anybody and just kind of was like, I'm, deuces, I'll see you when I see you. If I ever come back, you could tell that the demeanor is different. Now, while I think Jimmy was a team-centered player overall, there was some selfishness to Jimmy and the way he handled himself. At times he was a little, a little dinged up here or there and didn't want to play, didn't want to risk his free agency future, which I get it. Sometimes you got to protect yourself, and that's fine and whatnot. But you just watch the way Brock plays and you watch the way he handles himself, especially during negotiations. Like, he was present the entire time. His agent and John Lynch were talking at the combine. Like, they wanted to get this thing done and the ball rolling so soon. And, while I can't think back to what 2017, 2018 looked like with Jimmy Garoppolo at the podium, just to hear Brock talk about, it's the way he used his words was very inclusive of, like, it's the team, it's us, it's we. And that may not matter to somebody out there, especially if Brock doesn't play well, then who the hell cares how he talked in his press conference? But I think to hear that stuff, the one sentence that got me was, it's not just for me to get all the money, but also let's surround yourself with a great team, players, and locker room. Mm-hmm. He clearly knows who he's like. Brock Purdy is so he's so in tune with who he is as a quarterback and what he needs around him. Like, that's a big deal to have a guy who's that self-aware that says, look, I can probably hold out for $58-60 million, but if that allows this team to go sign DeMarcus Robinson and Luke Farrell and Jason Pinnock and Siren Neal, and maybe next offseason go replace Colton McKivitz and Trent Williams, who knows, right? To have that guy willing to do that, he didn't take a this super team-friendly deal, but the way it's the way the details pan out and the way it's kind of constructed, this is a really team-friendly deal for San Francisco to help build around Brock, not crater with him on the roster still.
Yeah.
I think Brock could have asked for a hell of a lot more, according to some reports. It was north of $60 million. We all know what Brock is as a quarterback. We know his capabilities. We know his limits. I don't think he is in that upper echelon of quarterbacks, but who is? You have maybe 4 players on a yearly basis that you could say are the elite of the elite. And then there's a lot of middle of the road guys. I'm not trying to say that Brock's middle of the road, but like, I think what Brock got was fair. He's got to be compensated. Like, he's done enough in this league. He's accomplished things. He's helped this team get to a Super Bowl. I mean, it wasn't like, the Jimmy Garoppolo years. A lot of people say, well, Garoppolo did the same thing. The 49ers a lot of times won in spite of Jimmy. A lot of these games in 2023, the 49ers won because of Brock and what he's able to do, whether it's off schedule, his accuracy, his ability, at least in the playoffs, to be clutch and come from behind to get us to come back against the Detroit Lions and things like that. So, like, I think the contract is kind of perfect in its own way. I don't think Brock's side caved. And I don't think the 49ers, I think that what you see, the $53 million was kind of the number all of us thought that it was going to be all along, right in that little kind of between 51 and 53 million. And that's exactly what he got. Tom Brady, considered the GOAT by a lot of people. It took me a while to come around on that because I'm a Montana guy, but he didn't always take all the money. He always left some on the table for the team to be able to negotiate and do some things with the contract, with the roster if needed. He's kind of cut from that same cloth. Man, he is John Lynch 101 when he talks. He is a freaking Fortune 500 company owner. Like, he's got that coach speak and GM speak down perfectly as a quarterback. He never says the wrong thing. He's always the way he navigates those press conferences, because like you were saying, Dre, there was a couple times where people were trying to get him, and he didn't give into that. So I'm very proud of what I saw, and I think the emphasis on getting things done, where he didn't necessarily call out certain players. We know who he's talking about. We know he's talking about the Brandon Ayuk's or the Trent Williams, or people that held out for more money and, got into camp late, really weren't ready early in the season. And then for whatever reason, they get injured. And then it's, last year was just a complete and an utter failure. So, again, he just learns to navigate everything to perfection. And I'm really happy that he's a quarterback of the 49ers. And I'm really happy that the Niners could kind of have, for 1 year at least, an off season where we're just going to be talking about football. It's bad for content creators, but it's great for, the 49ers in general, because now essentially it's just OTAs and then training camp in July, man. And there's not really much else going on.
Yeah, there is no, is Fred Warner going to get extended? Is Kittle going to get extended? When are we going to sign the Purdy deal? No, those are all done. And so, it's great. It's very refreshing and relieving to know that those are taken care of already. And I didn't think Fred Warner's contract was going to even get done. He still had 2 more years. They could have easily said, okay, after this next season, then we'll get to his contract. No, they did it this season. They're like, no, let's just do it now. Get it over with. Get these guys ready to go. Get them locked in and move forward. I love it.
So I know me and Dre talked about Fred a lot, and I know that isn't the main focus of the show. We want to get back to Brock Purdy, obviously, but
no, that's fine.
I have a theory. I think San Francisco was clearly really smart to extend Fred now, mainly because the way the NFL is trending, run heavy, inside zone, gap schemes. You're seeing a lot of offenses start paying running backs more. You're seeing them pay guards more money. You're seeing them pay centers more money. You're seeing offenses go from a wide zone Shanahan-like scheme to running offenses like the Eagles do, like the Bears are going to do, like they did under Ben Johnson with the Lions. Like, you're seeing teams like really prioritize getting in between the tackles and making plays. And yeah, Fred is so great in coverage and running down CeeDee Lamb up the seam and doing all those things, but Fred is also great at getting off his blocks, making plays at or near the line of scrimmage. He's great at, shedding blocks and getting running backs, for 1 or 2 yards or whatever it may be. Like, those things are really valuable. I think it's a reason as to why they drafted Nicholas Martin really early, and we can all say it's a reach, but I think you're going to see the linebacker market explode pretty soon. You're going to see a lot of, Nakobe Dean, if he has a big year this year, Philadelphia has to pay him. I know Quay Walker hasn't been great in Green Bay, and they declined his 5th-year option for a reason, because I think they see, hey, we're going to have the forethought to, like, this linebacker market's going to boom, and teams are going to start paying those guys crazy numbers to a point where Fred's contract in 2 or 3 years may be the 10th highest paid linebacker in football. Yeah. Now, they may have to redo that deal, but when that's all said and done, at some point, maybe for a very short period of time, we're going to say, and if Fred can stay healthy, how is Fred Warner a bargain for this team? I think it's certainly possible that happens in the future, but going back to Brock for a second, I think it's really important to point out that, Brock, throughout his entire time in San Francisco, whether it was in 2022 as a 4th quarterback coming in, earning a spot, and then winning the job or taking over in 2023 full time and all that stuff, he always tends to talk about how he needs to get better. And that's very rare for franchise quarterbacks. You'll hear that sometimes. Oh, I can't make this throw or that throw in a game. But to hear that in practice press conferences and what he's working at, like he talked about wanting to be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. And obviously those are really high aspirations. But he had a quote talking about you have to earn success. And it takes work to do that. And to have a quarterback, again, I don't want to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was the last highly paid one here. You never felt that Jimmy was really ever getting better or really ever trying to get better. Now,
or really engaged.
His ceiling was there, you know.
And Jimmy, for all the good things he did, there were a lot of holes that you could say, okay, you know, with some practice, with some work, that can change. Like there's small things you do, turnovers, throwing the ball away, extending plays with your legs, just go ahead and take a sack if you have to. Like, it's not like don't force the ball in a triple coverage to try to make a play. Like, Brock is so smart and so willing to make the changes necessary. And even today, he talked about how he was playing too much hero ball last season and needed to kind of refine and restrain himself to get back to what it was in 2022. He said, I went back and looked at my rookie film. Mm-hmm. Now, he was playing in structure. That to me shows for a guy that just got paid $53 million and can coast the rest of that contract, the money was never a priority to him. He wanted it, but the priority to him is winning football games. It means so much to him where it's honestly really fun to say Brock Purdy is your quarterback.
Yeah, I picked up on some of the same things you were talking about, where you talked about his footwork, kind of getting away from some of the stuff. He talked about being on time and like in line with what they were doing in 2023, and he felt like he kind of got away from that last year. You never got the sense with Garoppolo that he was going to spend his offseason working on his footwork and accuracy. He kind of gave me the vibe, and this is where I kind of lost it with Garoppolo and didn't want him around anymore. When he injured his leg in 2023 or 22 and went down in that game, the report was he left the stadium with his family mid-game. See ya. Like, I'm not working anymore. Goodbye. That really didn't sit well with me as a fan. Like, I want to see the quarterback who can't play the rest of the year. I want to see him in crutches on the sideline cheering on the other guys, not leaving the stadium because he's I don't know what Jimmy had never seemed to me like he was all that interested in getting better. He kind of got where he needed to be, got paid, and he was okay with that. And like the Niners had a ceiling with him. And maybe some people believe that they have a ceiling with Brock, but at least with Brock, not only is he a man of faith and believes in God and all that, and he lives his life with a certain set of values and morals, he's also a type of guy that if you were working with him at McDonald's, he would probably be your favorite boss to work under because he would be working.
Or your best employee.
Or, yeah. Or
I want to be the best French fries today.
He cleans the ice cream machine every night.
Every time I go in when he's working, the fries are at their crispiest.
The McFlurry machine is never broken when Brock Purdy's working.
Never down when Brock's here. No, but I mean, Brock does things in the game that other quarterbacks just don't do. Like he makes certain throws where he'll leave you saying, "Oh my God!" Like holy shit. In the Vikings game, week 2, he was under pressure and he threw a pass to Deebo Samuel, who was standing on the tippy-toe sideline, and Deebo caught it and then kind of stepped out of bounds. And I was like, holy crap, what a throw. He has these plays where he just blows your mind. You're like, wow, that was incredible. Even the best quarterbacks don't do that. But of course, people will say, well, he doesn't have the rocket arm or he doesn't have all this stuff. But he makes these plays that are just unreal. Like the pass across his body to Jawan Jennings against Sterling's. Actually, that was against the Lions. That was an amazing play. He continues to make these big plays when people start to doubt him, and that's one of the things I love the most about Brock Purdy is his ability to make plays either with his feet or with his arm when you don't expect it. I mean, against the Lions, he almost got sacked got off of the pass rusher and then
Is that how
threw
Brock
that
Purdy
pass.
evades pressure?
That's it. And then throws that pass to
He's Gumby.
he throws that pass to Kyle Juszczyk on the sideline. I mean, that was clutch play. And I'm sorry, I love Lamar Jackson. I love Josh Allen. You don't see those guys making that kind of play. Sure, you saw Lamar Jackson catch his own pass, which was like, what the but like it's just those plays are just amazing, and he does it and sometimes in the biggest games.
I'd push back on the thought that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen don't make those plays, but
No, I mean they make amazing plays. I'm saying, like, especially in the playoffs when everything's on the line, he's over here making these incredible plays because he's the kind of guy that when the moment gets too big, he doesn't let it get bigger than him, and he stays level-headed and cool. And I think this past season we saw him trying to do more than he did last season, and he found out that when he pushes the envelope, sometimes it didn't work out. And I think for a lot of fans, including myself, I wasn't used to Brock doing that. I wasn't used to seeing him take those risks. But I think one thing that's going to reduce that is having Christian McCaffrey back this season. That was a huge part of their offense that it changed everything. And not just because he's just so good that, like, he makes, without him, you're not very good. No, the offense was built around Christian McCaffrey. That's why you saw Deebo Samuel, line up in the backfield and come out for a pass, because that's supposed to be Christian McCaffrey. So you saw other players having to fill in other positions because they were down McCaffrey. So he's going to help them immensely this upcoming season if he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy, I'm telling you right now, me and Sterling already talked about this during a schedule release. He's getting the ball 40 times in week one. It's just happening.
Oh, yeah.
There is no way to avoid that.
Here.
Especially with them being down a couple of receivers, Ayuk and, of course, the other cat that we got from the Rams. There's no – dude, it's going to be –
Marcus Robinson.
We'll have to put him on ice by week 4, but I don't know what you're laughing at. But
I never know.
Here.
Take it. Go up the middle. Run fast.
Coach, I need a breather. You don't need a breather.
It's like the Holes video. I'm tired of running, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad. Get back out there, man. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
Back it in. Jordan Mason, shut up. Well, then now he's gone.
He's in Minnesota now.
He's in Minnesota now. I think he's actually going to have a good year in Minnesota, by the way. But
he better.
In that presser, he was asked a question. He was asked a question about, Grant asked him, hey, John Lynch mentioned that the deal, may not ever get done. How did that make you feel? And I thought that his response was so good. It was so on point. He was like, yeah, people are going to run with stuff and, kind of just make up their own narrative. And, you just got to know that,
the guy that just asked the question.
Yeah, exactly. Everything he was saying was about the guy he was talking to for the most part. And I loved it. I was just like, oh, great. Great answer. He was like, yeah, you can't you can't believe everything you hear. He's like, I was in communication with them, throughout this whole process. I know my agent was talking with them. So when you hear those kind of things, I mean, I knew that wasn't true.
I remember hearing that from John Lynch, and part of me was like, wow, that's kind of a weird statement. But at the same time, it's contract talk. That's what you're supposed to say. Yeah. You're not supposed to give up leverage as an organization. No matter how much you love a player, the contract negotiations are just that. They're negotiations. It's all about. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and it's like, yeah, maybe you wouldn't want your GM to say the deal may never get done with your franchise quarterback. It certainly raises some eyebrows. But would you rather him say, "Yep, it'll get done next month"? Yep, it'll get done this day. And it's like, okay, well, then it sets these lofty expectations where it's like, no, okay, well, it didn't get done. The days passed, one went wrong. And the Niners have always been a team, while yes, they've had some leaks here or there, and there's only a few people that are really tuned in with the front office. And it usually isn't who people are reading and watching.
Yeah.
And you can tell that even if negotiations are going well, which clearly negotiations went pretty well to get this deal done by May 21st, basically May 16th of last week. Like, the deal was done that early. Like, they called Brock when he was golfing. Mm-hmm. Hey, the deal's done. There's some small things we have to get, like, the large restructure is done. You can celebrate now. Everything's fine. Go get your plans ready. Go get your plane ready to go to fly to San Francisco. But like, they're like, I never doubted, even if John Lynch said it may never get done, that Brock was going to be playing anywhere else for the next half decade. Like, they were like, we've gone through the Jimmy Garoppolo, the Brandon Ayuk, the Deebo Samuel stuff of like, oh my God, this may not happen, to a point where it's like, this may have been, besides George Kittle's deal and Fred Warner's deal, of like, yeah, these are kind of guaranteed deals to happen. Even Nick Bosa's deal, for as long as it took, that one felt like it'll get done eventually.
Yeah,
I hate that it took that long, but it was going to get done.
Yeah, it was inevitable. We keep talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and I know we look at this.
Nice
the deal.
profile.
we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, and look, there were some bad to go with that good. I mean, at the end of what was it, the 2022 season? Fuck the Niners. At the end of that 2022 season, when Brock got hurt, like Jimmy Garoppolo probably could have been on the roster and could have probably even played that game. If they would have somehow won that game and went to the Super Bowl, I can guarantee you Jimmy Garoppolo would have come back to play in that Super Bowl. But he was already out the door. He wasn't even there. He was already moving on. And that's the thing with Jimmy, was that, was he about the team? I think he was. The players liked him a lot. The players would rally around him a lot. He was kind of a player's guy. But when it came to the franchise and the ownership, he just was like, no, I'm not going to risk it. And now look at him.
They also kind of dicked him around a little bit, too.
They did a little bit.
And I want to phrase this correctly. They were dicking each other around.
They were.
Because, they were really, like, the way they were really bad. Like, their relationship was so tumultuous from the get-go. Kyle didn't want him initially. John brought him in, signed him to the richest contract ever for a quarterback at the time. The next year he tears his ACL and all that stuff.
I know. That was awful.
Which sucks, and what could have been. I think that's a big what if in Niner history now. But then you get into 2019, they go to the Super Bowl. They almost bring in Tom Brady. Then 2020 he gets hurt. They say he can come back. There's a whole laundry list of why didn't this happen? Why did this happen? And them really just having a very toxic relationship with each other. But I think kind of steering things back into the whole Brock conversation, like, it feels really nice to have a head coach that actually wants the quarterback.
Yeah.
And that was the way with Trey Lance, but Trey, when they drafted Trey, there was a clear, this is a moldable piece of clay that you hope can become something, and Kyle has that, and hopefully he can kind of, push it around and kind of, sculpt it to how and make the quarterback he wants. And it never happened. And Trey has his own issues, whatever. But Brock came in with no strings attached, kind of the F it, kind of mindset of I have nothing to lose here. But to have that and then go out there and ball, and Kyle's in practice over Trey, over Jimmy, over Nate Sudfeld, this guy may be the best one. And to know that 4 years prior, then to sign that guy to another 5-year deal, to have Kyle so engulfed and so enamored by his quarterback, finally, it does give me a little more hope that they can actually win a Lombardi Trophy in the future.
Well, I think with Trey Lance, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say I was going to say that the person where'd you go? He got pissed off and left. No, the camaraderie between Brock and Kyle is completely different than what he had with Jimmy. They were very contentious on the sideline. There were times where there was the famous one where I think Shanahan asked him, "This is easy. Can you do it?" And he was just pissed off.
He said, "No, I can't." Clearly.
No, I'm really bad. I suck, coach.
This is the one where he's like, "Your plays suck. That's why."
That was funny. That was
I was like, okay, here we go.
I forgot about that one.
He said that to him. He was like, "It's because your plays suck." You could read his lips. It was like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah, there was never
I can't even hear him. It's a one-way conversation.
There was definitely there wasn't a kumbaya relationship with the two of them.
But I mean, the thing too was that you always heard talk about how Jimmy wanted to have more say in the offense. He wanted to throw the ball downfield, even though he didn't have a rocket arm, which didn't make any sense to me. Look,
Hey, let Jimmy cook, man.
it let Jimmy cook.
We never got to see it.
But
But
Kyle basically sculpted the offense around Jimmy's strengths and
cooked with
avoided
that porn
his
star.
weaknesses. And I think that's what really pissed off Jimmy Garoppolo, is that he was like, no, you're not letting me, I think he felt like he didn't let him grow and progress as a quarterback, because he kept him in like a structured set. You throw it down the middle, you throw it to Debo, you throw it right there, short pass, don't miss. And I'll tell you what, though, when Jimmy had to hit that crossing pattern to Debo Samuel, he put it right there.
on the money, man.
It was like, wow. He had a quick release, and that's when we saw Debo with the most catches. And that's why Debo liked Jimmy so much, because Jimmy got him the ball. Sometimes a little too much. He tried to force him the ball and would cause interception. But the problem with Jimmy Garoppolo was that he was always prone to have that big turnover. Even in the Super Bowl, you were like, I really hope Jimmy doesn't have that big turnover. Throws the interception. You're like, God damn it. There it is. And then, or against, who was it?
It wasn't that big. The first one was the bad one in the first half, where he just like threw it up. The second one didn't matter to me that much.
No,
The game was
the
over
first
at that point.
one, that one hurt. It was like, fuck,
But
what are
they
you
still
doing?
had the lead after.
I know, but still.
Was that the blind throw where he closed his eyes and he just kind of chucked it up in the air?
Yeah. It was the one to was it Javarius Ward? No. It was somebody. Doesn't matter.
Funny thing is, that last play when he didn't hit
Sanders.
Sanders, it was Charvarius Ward covering him too. He got burned.
He got beat.
He got beat hard.
By a slow 33-year-old wideout. God.
Yeah, that was probably his best route he ran for the Niners that whole season. But Jimmy did have good moments though. I mean, his play in the last drive against the Packers in the snow. Sorry, Sterling. He was clutch.
I'm not a Packer fan, brother.
He outplayed Aaron Rodgers in that fourth quarter, and everybody was. I had Packer fans who were my friends who were like, "How you gonna get outplayed by Jimmy Garoppolo?" And I was like, "Well, why do you guys say that?" So I mean, he had his moments. The game against the Saints, he had a monster game, but
That was his best game for sure.
But you didn't see him replicate that game after game. It was like you'd see him in Mexico City, hucking the ball around, looking loose. Like, man, this guy's good. And
When
then
they got Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy looked pretty damn good.
he did. But then you had those
pretty
games.
good.
You had those games where Jimmy just looked terrible, and Jimmy couldn't get anything going. And then he'd get pressured, and he was immobile, and you were just like, oh God, Jimmy, come on.
Which I'll just say, that's what makes Brock Purdy so great, because he is mobile. He doesn't throw a dumb interception.
I will say this about Brock. This is going to be an important year for him in his maturation coming off of last year. He talked a lot about, like you said, the things with his footwork and how he kind of had to go look at old film of himself where he was more on it than he was last year. He kind of went into the hero ball. It's going to be an important offseason for him. We're gonna know early on, like you said, we got a bunch of divisional games early in the season. Everybody says the right thing in May and June, but when it matters is when it matters, and so we'll see. We have a lot of time from now until that time before football. I mean, September's quite a bit away, but
I know
Niners this has been one of the best off seasons. The only thing really about this offseason, and Brock even said something about it, is he lost his locker mate, Dre Greenlaw.
Oh, I know. He had to bring that up.
That made me sad when I was watching the press conference, because you understood a lot of the moves that they made roster-wise, but they still suck because those guys were big-time players, especially Greenlaw, that helped them get to multiple NFC Championship games and 2 Super Bowls. So it was that was a tough one for me to hear him say that he lost his locker mate.
It was.
I was very sad about that. So hopefully Dre gets healthy and plays amazing in Denver. And I hope Nick Martin proves both of you wrong that he wasn't a reach.
No, I like Nick Martin. I think he's a great I love the draft pick, but I just don't like where it was at. I think you could have got him later in the draft because you didn't see a lot of linebackers go after him.
I'm not a draft guru, so of course, anytime the Niners pick a player, I'm all for it. Yeah.
When they picked him, I was like, dude, I love Nick Martin, but you took him right there. What? I was like, you could have waited a little longer, at least one more round.
It's funny how many tweets I saw, mainly from people like you guys that follow the draft, like, the Niners just effing reached on that pick. I do not like it. And I'm like, I thought it was fantastic. They just replaced Dre, So
Marquise Siegel.
I don't know.
That was the one where I nearly shit myself when I saw that one. I was just like, who? I didn't know who the guy was. I was like, what are we doing? And the pass up Jackson Slater, Miles Frazier, Chris Paul Jr., not to be mistaken with Chris Paul, the basketball player, Denzel Ward. Like, you're passing up all these guys. And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it.
Rather off topic to this draft conversation.
I'm just saying, we're talking about the draft. The Siegel pick, I'm still, I don't get that. I don't get that pick.
It just goes off course. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask. So
we're talking Jimmy G a minute ago. I mean,
let's say the next 3 years. Okay. You have Stafford, you have Purdy, you have Kyler Murray, you have Sam Darnold. Let's say they all stay on their own teams: Rams, Cardinals, Niners, and Seahawks. Which team has the best 3-year outlook going forward? I would just say out there, I think the Seahawks probably have the worst of that group.
Yep.
I do like Sam Darnold, but I do think there is some issues when pressure gets to him on the interior. He kind of becomes just a big fat egg. You're like, what's going on?
Pumpkin. Yep.
Right. And although I do think Seattle's going the right direction, I think they'll be competitive. I think Stafford probably has 1 or 2 years left. He may try to milk a third out of that. Who knows? Maybe.
And I think McVay is on his way out too.
You think so?
I think those two are linked. I think once that train leaves the station, I think you see McVay either retire for a bit, go into broadcasting or something. Because then he's going to have to start over and go draft.
He's still really young, though. He's one of the younger quarterbacks who's successful.
He does feel like he feels like the guy that leaves then comes back later.
He feels like the type that gets burnt out. I get that vibe from him. Same with Kyle. I feel like Kyle is burnt to a crisp.
He looks 30, then 50 the very next day, and you're like, what happened?
I know,
like,
right?
You go on a
burn. Kyle are born in the same day, in the same year, December 14th, 1979. I think I look younger than Kyle Shanahan. Okay, so
that's arguable.
I'm ruggedly handsome. So what can I say?
Ruggedly handsome.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, this is not like Major League Baseball or the NBA where you're like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'll go coach for the Knicks or I'll go coach for another big market team. In the NFL, you're like, if this doesn't work out, I don't want to go to the Giants. I don't really want to go to the Jets. I guess I can go to Kansas City if Fuckface retires, but then that's big shoes to fill. So you're like, do I really want to do that?
Who's Andy Reid?
Andy Reid. Sorry, I was gonna call him Mike Holmgren.
I actually like Andy Reid because he reminds me of my dad.
But what I'm saying is that
who
wants to take over Andy Reid? Nobody wants to take over Andy Reid. That's huge shoes to fill. So I mean, I think with the NFL, it's like he's in Los Angeles, he's in a big market. The Rams, to me, are more of Los Angeles' team than the Chargers. So I think that's a place he'll want to stay. He's young enough to rebuild and retool that team. And remember, too, when he got there, he inherited a team that had a lot of stars. I mean, Aaron Donald was already there. When Kyle got to San Francisco, it was a mess. And I would argue that this offseason is the best offseason since his first offseason when they went out and they signed like 7 dudes to the roster. I mean, the team sucked. But
Pierre Garçon.
They signed Malcolm. What was his name?
Smith or something?
Malcolm Smith. Robbie Gould.
Super Bowl MVP Malcolm Smith. Is that who you're talking about? Seattle Seahawk?
Yeah. That's it.
Wow. I forgot he was even a Niner.
He never played. He never played.
To me, he tore his pec right away, and then they were like, you're done. But to me, that was exciting that first offseason with Lynch and Shanahan because they signed all those guys, and they were showing you, hey, look, we're trying to make this team better right off the bat. It didn't really work out, but then they got better each year. And so I think this offseason is a much better way of doing that, where instead of just signing a bunch of guys, they went out.
That was their best offseason, 2017?
I thought it was a pretty good offseason.
You don't think 2019 was a better offseason?
I think 2019 was kind of
That's a way better. They got Debo Bosa, DJ Jones, Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, but they drafted them. They drafted them, and
that's part of the offseason.
They were still unproven. you're coming off a season where the Niners were god awful. They bring in a new head coach, a new GM, and they go sign a bunch of players. It sparks some excitement. Everyone's like, "Cool,
Okay.
I like this."
From that aspect,
From
I
that
can see,
aspect,
like,
from the excitement
level,
aspect,
yes.
yeah, I was like,
Their
"Okay,
best
here we go."
Off season, it was actually during the 2022 season when they acquired Christian McCaffrey.
That was during
to
the
me,
that was
I
during the
know,
season, though. That
I
wasn't
know,
even the
but
off season.
He was he changed everything for the Niners.
Oh, absolutely! I was excited when they brought in D Ford. I was like, "Oh, damn!" I was like, "That guy can be healthy.
I was
That's gonna
too
be
until
awesome."
I started. Like everybody was telling me, it's a bad move. It's a bad move.
Well,
He's
they
hurt
got
all
to
the
Super
time.
Bowl, but yes, he was hurt all the time.
He was good for that little bit of time, man. When we had Defoe, Armstead, him. But I mean, dude, they were. Oh man, for like that game.
Quan
against the
Alexander,
Browns, man.
remember that? Oh, he's gonna be a revelation. Hurt. Oh,
He was great. I loved Quan.
he was
Ruben
great, but then he got
Foster.
hurt. He got oh Ruben. Okay, now we're just going off the rails here.
Captain Green Tent.
Mike McGlinchey.
He was in the green tent all the time. Like a miraculous tackle he just made. Oh wait, he's going to the green tent.
Yeah, now he's hurt after he made a tackle. But no, this offseason I think has been great so far. They took care of business early, and they got the deals done that had to get done. And now it's a matter of let's hope that the guys they drafted for the defensive line, which I think are going to kick ass, that they do kick ass in the season. And I think that they're going to make a huge improvement on the run defense. I don't know if these guys are going to be big sack guys, but I think when it comes to the run defense, we're going to be so much better, especially up the middle. Because, I mean, that's all teams did to us, like run it up the middle. Hargrave can't stop the run. And then Hargrave got hurt. And then it was like a shit show of D tackles trying to fill in the voids, and it was such a mess.
If they could somehow sign another veteran pass rusher in free agency, but as the season is or training camp is rolling around, I feel a little bit better. I feel like the one area they're still really weak is edge.
I wanted to ask Sterling, what do you think? Do you think the Niners should get a guy like Zadarius Smith? He's out there. He's a free agent.
No.
I know. Were you covering the Packers? You saw a lot of his play and stats. Do you think it's a guy that
He was not there when I was covering them, first off. But I'd rather have
getting this whole
Clowney
Packers thing all the time.
than Zadarius Smith. Oh, I used to cover the Packers for the heavy, is what
Oh, you don't anymore?
I do not. Just making the joke over and over again.
Over and over.
It's not even relevant
what
anymore.
is he talking about?
Every time I was going and Sterling and the Packers.
Sterling, when you actually cover the pack, no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
He's like, the Packers are going to dominate the Niners.
And they did.
They did. They whooped their
They
ass.
kicked their ass
It
this
was
season.
horrible. It was so bad. That was
But
that and the Buffalo game where it's just
I mean,
I could hardly watch it. I was like,
Brock didn't play against the Packers, and it snowed against Buffalo. I was like, yeah, what do you think's going to happen? McCaffrey got hurt in the first drive against Buffalo, too. It was like, okay, his game's
We
over.
still didn't have a shot.
Brandon Allen
Buffalo
had a
was
broken
so much better.
finger. He had a
Yeah,
broken
it's-
finger on his throwing hand. It was like, what? How are you starting him?
They show him in practice, and he's literally got
He's fumbling
really?
the ball. I was like, oh.
Go ahead,
That
Joe.
was so bad. That was so bad. Again, more drama because he didn't want to use Josh Dobbs. He was like, no, I'm not using him. There was some kind of weird tension there. I don't know what it was.
because Dobbs didn't do what he wanted. That's the thing, is that if you're brought in and you don't do what Kyle wants, you're not going to play. Like, Josh Dobbs was the epitome of, no block, no rock. It was like, hey,
Yep.
no system. You're not getting in the game. There's no rhyme for that, but still, like, but I do think that this team would be. I think they really should target Jadeveon Clowney for maybe a year. I wouldn't touch Zadarius Smith. I know we're joking about it, but he's a free agent still.
Yeah, he is.
He's just kind of an a-hole, man. Like he's a me first, not a team first guy. If he was getting outplayed by Micah Williams and Samo and all those dudes, he would start complaining and he would just quit. Like that's the one thing you don't want.
Yeah,
and I think it all kind of
last year.
Yeah.
it all kind of goes full circle with the Brock Purdy conversation, because that's why you pay Brock to be a leader for you and have your quarterback in place knowing your defense is probably going to have some games they're going to struggle with, which may happen early in the year. You're going to have your offense carry you a lot of the times this season. I know Salah's back, and you have Kosaric, and you brought in 3 hopeful studs on the defensive line, and you have Bosa and you have Fred under contract now, but you're going to need Brock and Kittle and Jennings and Pearsall and McCaffrey there day one, because your defense, although has high potential, there's going to be a roller coaster ride this year, and you hope towards the end of the year, around week 12, they can kind of tighten the screws and really take off for that playoff run. But that's why you pay Brock, because you have to start off hot, and your defense may not be reliable as previous years to begin the season, and you're going to need your offense to carry a heavy load for you probably in the first half of this year, if not more this season.
Well, that's something that Aaron and I had talked about previously. I mean, what do you think, you guys? I mean, is this defense a defense that is going to surprise people, or do you think it's a defense that's going to underperform at times and maybe be their weakest link?
Both
in the games that matter the most.
Both.
Yeah, I see them having some problems early on, especially if you have to play a guy. We talked about this, Sterling, playing a guy like what's his name, Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray makes our old defense with the studs look foolish sometimes with all that backyard trash.
I wouldn't say
that he does.
Studs last season.
Well, just in the past,
Devondre Campbell.
It's not even that.
I could have got past Devondre Campbell.
It's 2019, it's 2020, it's 2021, and 2022. Kyler has always made the wide 9 look foolish. Always. Yeah.
Guys like Lamar
took
Jackson
a Ross
too.
Dwelley 2-touchdown game and a Jeff Wilson, thank God he's our 4th running back game, and they're at Levi's in 2019 to help save our season. Like, it was like, oh my God, Kyler looks like the next big thing. And his ceiling has certainly come down a bit, but going back to the, which team maybe has the best 3-year projection, I really wouldn't be shocked if the Cardinals continue to make the right picks. They're going to be a pain in the ass. Like, you got that kind of
be.
Like,
they're going to be the ultimate pain in the ass. Jonathan Gannon always he coaches well against the Niners.
Yep.
And, Kyler, for all the good things he can do, and he has some drawbacks for sure, and the injuries are piling up for him. But, Kyler really, again, can be that that pesky dude. You're like, what did I just watch happen? How did we lose 24-17? And Kyler makes this amazing game-winning play. We saw it last year, which we weren't great last year, but he's running in circles and just throws it up. And somehow the guy brings it down, and we all said, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, what did we just watch in front of our eyes? So
these young guys have never seen anything like him, and I feel like
that was the hot game. It was really hot at Levi Stadium, and and the Niners wanted to wear their all white uniforms, and they were like, "Oh, you can't wear that because the Cardinals have all white uniforms." And
was that in 2020 or this past year?
This past season we lost
really
at home to the Cardinals, and it was super hot that day, and the Niners looked lethargic, like, oh, it's really hot, and the Cardinals just beat us. And I think it was that game or the previous time we played them last season when Kyler Murray did that quarterback keep and he just ran for a touchdown. It was like
he had the ball. He had the ball up like this. He was like holding it like, suckers. Yeah, that was bad.
I couldn't believe that.
Because we played the Cardinals in 2020 when there was fires in Santa Clara and Tevin Coleman couldn't play because he had sickle cell. And it was like, what the hell is happening? Like, COVID's happening and the sky's falling. There's fire. The apocalypse is here. Like, what's going on?
Which
obviously
rough,
kind of preluded a terrible season for San Francisco. I want to ask you guys this, though. Have you guys seen the breakdown of Purdy's contract and how team-friendly it actually is?
I saw a snippet of it, but I don't have it up.
Okay, I have it in front of me right now.
Oh,
Brock's cap hit this year is only $9.1 million.
Really? I thought it was lower than that. I thought it was like 8.4.
Yeah, I thought it was a little lower too.
They're giving him $41 million in cash, so I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Are you looking at
what would you do?
Are you on Spotrac?
Yeah, I'm on Spotrac. Yeah, Spotrac.
Are you looking at Dave Lombardi's spreadsheets?
No.
The Niners will only pay Brock Purdy $9 million.
Every time we reach a high in the stream, we always got to mention a name that just plummets it.
Yeah, come on, man.
You know, just having a good time.
First GC
Okay.
and now that guy.
Okay. Getting back to Brock's contractual details here to save the stream because Drake is taking it off the tracks. Brock's getting $9.1 million in cap hit this year and $41.1 million in cash. First, like Aaron asked, if you had $41 million in cash off the bat, what are you doing with it? Brock said he's buying like a big bass boat, but if you had $41 million in cash, just give me the first thing you're buying.
I'm giving it to my mom, and I'm letting my mom deal with it. She's really good with money. Whatever she wants to do.
I'm going to Taco Bell, and I'm buying anything I want.
My mom will turn that into like $100 million. I'd be like, "What happened? What'd you do?" I don't know.
I would buy PS5. I'd buy the better Shure mic that they have.
I can give you mine, and then you can just give me the money.
We'll trade mics. We'll trade mics and see how we like each one.
I would just buy Mr. Beast's YouTube channel and let it monetize itself daily, bring in money all the time.
Mr. Beast.
I would find a way to somehow funnel all the views to our 3 channels on a consistent basis.
I'm gonna buy subscribers.
I'm gonna buy some views and just let it rip. One
but
video, 26,000 views.
Everybody's from
26. We're talking like millions, Dre.
26,000. Everyone's from Singapore, and you're like, I don't care. It's just it looks better in the numbers.
Views of you, man. Views of you. All about the optics.
I had a friend of mine. I knew he was doing it because this isn't on my other channel where we do like movies and pop culture. All of a sudden, he had a video that had something like 30,000 views out of nowhere. I was like, oh, okay. I think I know what you did there. But anyway.
Year 2 of Brock Purdy's contract.
30,000 views and like 6 likes. So you're like, okay, well, that doesn't add up.
You got ratioed. So year 1 of Brock's extension really kicks in 2026. 2025, $9.1 million cap hit, $41 million in cash. But in 2026, his age 27 season, a $24.79 million cap hit, and a $58.9 million dead cap hit. Funny enough, still only 8% of the cap league wide. So really not that bad at all for San Francisco. The next year in 2027, when Brock is 28 years old, a $30 million cap hit and about only $11.9 million in dead cap. However, the third year of that deal, 2028, when he's 29 years old, his cap hit jumps to $57.6 million from 9% of the cap to 15.5%.
You ain't getting that money. They're going to do something with that.
They're going to restructure at that point.
Exactly. And I think there's a really important note to make here where whether they restructure in 2028 or 2029, when his cap hits $72.5 million, which he'll never get from this team, it's really important to remember that they're probably going to renegotiate in 2028, redo that deal like they do all the deals they have. But also, the NFL can opt out of their TV contracts in 2029, which means when they redo those deals, on top of Brock and the Niners redoing his contract, they're going to see a almost like double dip of cap influx that year alone. So if you want to talk about San Francisco having a 3 to 4 year kind of window, like maximizing Brock Purdy's window, you're kind of creating that brand new core once Trent's gone, once CMC's aged out, once Ayuk is done. Like they're going to have a massive cap influx in 2028 and 2029 to really capitalize on the last couple of years of Brock's deal. He'll be 29 in 2028, 30 in 2029, and 31 in 2030. Again, those last 3 years are probably all going to be redone. And then you add in the TV deals being redone. San Francisco really should be able to maximize the entirety of Brock Purdy's contract, adding in new players, rebuilding the core left and right. So again, anybody that keeps telling you it's over, they paid Brock, the window's closed, I'm telling you now, the first 3 years are going to be good enough, but they're going to be able to just jump all over it again in 2028, 29, and 30, and 31. It's going to be crazy how good this team can be. They may not go all the way, but they're going to be competitive the entirety of the entire contract.
Well, I mean, even last season, if the defense was better, we would have had a much better season last season. Yeah, we had some deficiencies on offense, but we still had a top 10 offense. It's our defense that was atrocious and couldn't stop anybody. If they were a good defense, we would have had a much better season. So I think this season they're going to be much better. So I think we're going to get the season we should have got last year, but this season we have an easier schedule, so it's just the cherry on top.
They have a lot less excuses to fall back on this year, man. They have an easier schedule. They got their DC back, and they have a really easy schedule.
Okay. So let me ask you guys, and I know Sterling and I talked about this the other day, but what is considered a failure in terms of win-loss record for San Francisco going into the season?
They got to win at least nine games. They don't win 9 games next year.
They have to win at least 10 games. Come on, like 9 games? I'd be like, oh man, you guys barely snuck through that schedule.
You're right. Let me think. You're right. 10
you
games. You
limped all the way to the finish line? Like, no way. I had them going 13-4, and that's on a good season. Sterling had like something crazy.
I had them 10-7. That's
10-7. That's what it was. I was like, oh my god,
that's reasonable.
They're gonna lose 7 times.
They have 2 new coaches in the building. They have to revitalize special teams. They don't know who their damn kicker is yet, and the defense is super young.
Greg Joseph,
and they don't have a lot of depth on that defense. They're 2 big injuries away from being the Sam O. Yeah, like let's be real, people.
The doomsday is what if Fred Warner goes down? Like, knock on wood, doesn't happen.
Let's not get crazy.
If Fred goes down,
let's not get crazy.
Like you have Winters, and you have Martin, and you have Bethune, and you have Curtis Robinson, and you're like, oh god.
If CMC goes down, they're really screwed.
We just got to turn into the 1999 Rams and score like 45 points a game, and then it'll just be like whatever.
Which is what I think they're going to have to do sometimes this year.
You're going to see some games that are going to be like 42 to 38, and the Niners are going to win by a field goal, and they're going to be like, we have 600 yards of offense, but we gave up 500.
They need to go out and sign a guy like J.K. Dobbins just in case.
Oh, man. Hey, when he's healthy, he's nice.
Hey, guys.
Good. I love that guy.
Before we get out of here, real quickly, there was some news that the Niners brought in another kicker, Greg Joseph. I think he came in for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
He was a Jet last year.
Yeah.
He was a Jet last year? Yeah, that's right.
For one game.
I want to get excited about this because I do not like Jake Moody whatsoever, but I'd have this as just one of those things where it's Jake Moody's job to win. And I feel like regardless of how good this guy kicks in camp and preseason, I think they're still going to end up going Jake Moody. But was it you, Sterling, that made a point on one of your streams? If they end up relying on, say, Moody and he ends up losing them a couple games, you couldn't go any farther with that. You'd have to cut him at that point.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. So
more like trying to put a Band-Aid on a hole in a freaking submarine.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's really hard to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And,
it's like having a screen door in a submarine.
and Jake Moody has been really inconsistent. He was okay his rookie season, and you were hoping that there'd be a growth in year 2, but year 2 was just a mess, whether it was the injury or not. But I do think that it'd be really wise if San Francisco kept a kicker on their practice squad, whether it's Greg Joseph or somebody else. I have no idea. But you can't go into week 5 and have Jake a little inconsistent, and then against the Rams, it's like, he misses a game-winning kick, and it's like, seriously, dude, like, you are 6 for 10 or 7 for 10 to begin the year. It's like, you can't do this. And I think once you see the slide, there's no room to hope that the bounce back happens. Yeah. If the slide comes, get out of town.
If I see that,
you can't have this year.
And when I see that bashful beaver face that he makes, where he's just like, it makes me so angry.
Like, you can't pay Brock Purdy in the offseason. You can't pay Fred Warner and George Kittle in the offseason. You can't have 11 draft picks in this past draft class and then have the season go to waste because Jake Moody's your kicker. Now, I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Jake in practice has made 70-yard field goals, and he's looked really great, but that's practice for a reason.
Yeah.
And so if the slide happens, I don't want to hear any of it of, we still believe in Jake. I don't believe in Jake. I don't think Kyle believes in Jake. I don't think Brent Boyer believes in Jake Moody. it's up to Jake to prove to them that he still has it, because right now he is one of their worst third-round picks ever. And that's a big statement to make.
But that's what he is. He's a third-round pick, and that's why he's still around. Because they're like, well, he was a third-round pick.
True.
Strawberry
From
reacts.
Ryan Schneider, who got fired, but still.
Yeah. Strawberry reacts right here. 4th overall offense, 29th overall defense, 32nd overall special teams. God. I mean, how many games did we see special teams just completely ruin the game?
How can you be last in the league in special teams, bro? Oh my gosh.
Or like they start using Debo and punt returns, and then he fumbled that one game. It was like
32 out of 32.
It was pretty
Dude,
bad.
you could trip and fall down the stairs and still be better on special teams than the 49ers were last year. Oh my gosh. They better be better this year.
And Jake Moody didn't help that. Jake Moody was like, here, I'm going to miss this field goal.
They have some of the worst angles I've ever seen on teams trying to tackle people on special teams.
I mean, he
like,
lost that game. You
could see it on television. They're like, this guy's going to score a touchdown.
He lost multiple games for the Niners. And even against the Buccaneers, we should have won that game at the end of regulation. He missed the field goal and had to go to overtime. It was like, oh, God. Or maybe it wasn't overtime, but it was late in the game, and he could have given us the lead, and he missed.
He was 1 for 4 on kicks that day.
Yeah, it was 1 for 4. He missed. Yeah, it was but it was one of those games where it was like when he came up, I was like, he's probably gonna miss. Fuck, he missed.
That's all he did last year. I never thought he'd make any kicks last year. Real quick, last thing. I don't know. You guys are a little younger than me. They're gonna induct Brent Jones. I'm 45.
I'm 43. I'm not that much older.
Okay.
Younger than you.
Well, that's right. You are.
Sterling's
You
like
look
27.
I'm 28.
Oh, that's right. You are mad young.
Yeah,
okay, so Brent Jones, a former...
You're the grandpa around here.
49ers. I am Grandpa Aaron.
You're the Papa Smurf.
I used to get called that because I worked with a bunch of younger chicks that were like 20 years younger than me. They used to always call me Grandpa.
All right. Okay, so...
Anyways, so, no, Brent Jones inducted into the 49ers Hall of Fame this season. He was Kittle before Kittle. He was like the most old school tight end. The guy never wore any gloves. He took some of the most vicious hits I've ever seen. I mean, getting hit in the legs and being landed on his head type stuff. Probably one of my favorite players outside of Jerry Rice back in the day. And the Niners had like Taylor. He came on really late in the 1980s. He was more around for the Steve Young era, and because the Niners had Wesley Wallace for a while and stuff. But yeah, Brent Jones was kind of like their guy, while the Cowboys had Jay Novacek. The 49ers had Brent Jones. So yeah, he's getting inducted. That's freaking awesome.
Packers
really
had
good.
Mark Chamora.
Chewy. Dude, if you listen
he got arrested for child pornography,
the Jim Rome show and the
oh my God. Right.
I know, I should have said that.
You're gonna get demonetized, brother.
I already am demonetized, so
make
it doesn't really matter.
Cents on this video, man. God.
Oh my God.
You know that thing
Chewy!
in your brain that tells you that don't let it come out
I'm
of here?
tired, okay? I've been up since like 1 a.m, okay?
Man.
I'm a little fried.
It's okay. Everybody, we appreciate you coming through.
Sterling especially.
Sterling is losing his mind in the back over here. It's been a fun last couple weeks for the 49ers, man, getting stuff done. A lot of contracts and off-season drama that seems like we don't have to worry about this year. So I'm looking forward to actually having a little mental break with the 49ers till July. Let me enjoy my summer for a bit.
No, it never stops. I need controversy.
Yeah.
Give me that Jawan Jennings contract negotiation holdout. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah!
Give me that Colt McKivitz holdout. Let's go.
You say that, and what if that happens? Jawan Jennings is pretty damn important in this team.
Right now, he really is.
Especially with
Pearsall.
The lack of guys we're going to have catching the ball week 1. The Niners better hope that they don't have any injuries or any setbacks with anybody going into
week 1. It's going to be a lot of Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield.
25 carries,
George Kittle,
17 receptions.
Here, take it. Run over there. Run behind Dom Purdy.
His jersey's going to get ripped off like Earl Campbell's. He's just going to have like pads on at the end of the game. Everything, whatever. But, all right, everyone, take care. Right. Everybody enjoy the rest of their evening, no matter where you are, and we'll see you next time. Peace.